Today I'm going to talk about my favorite game mechanism in The Pursuit of Happiness. The Pursuit of Happiness is largely a worker placement tableau building game where you are living a life, a human life. And this game has really opened up my eyes. After just one play, and I greatly look forward to playing it again, it's really opened my eyes up to what it means when a Euro game has thematic mechanisms. Because this game may be the best Euro game at combining theme and mechanisms that I've ever seen. And the reason I say that is at kind of the new bar this game has helped me set is that I can look back on my session of this game, and I think I'm confident that I'll be able to look back on any session of this game after many months have passed, and I'll be able to talk about what happened in a thematic way. And I am absolutely not disparaging any other Euro game that doesn't do this, but I'm saying I greatly admire this. In the game I played the other day, my career, I was a union leader in the game. That was my career. I had a wife who we dated for a while. We eventually moved in, and then we had 2 kids, which took a lot of time, and time is a resource in the game, but I don't even know if it was worth it, but it happened. And I was a creepy doll collector. My main hobby was collecting dolls, and I was really good at it. And well, not good at it. I had a lot of them, and it was creepy. Like in the game, the top level of doll collecting is creepy. So I love that I can tell this story through Pursuit of Happiness, and I just admire it greatly for that element of the game. My favorite mechanism, though, in the game are the tracks. There are 2 tracks on the side of the board. There's a stress track, and there's a happiness track. I'll talk about the happiness track first, too. It's very simple. Each round, if you gain happiness, you decrease the cost of acquiring jobs. I think they're called projects. So if a project costs 3 of a certain resource, if I'm happier, then I don't have to spend as many resources to start that project. And the really neat thing about this track is that it resets every round. And so it's very much captures the idea of temporary happiness. How 1 year of your life you can be really, really happy, and resources come easier to you, I guess, is the thematic explanation. But the next year may not come as easily to you. I really like that this means that you can focus on happiness in rounds where you want to acquire projects, and not so much, and you can ignore it on other rounds, or even be unhappy. I don't think any of us were ever unhappy. Or really unhappy, but we boosted our happiness a few times. The other track is the stress track. And this is a mechanism, as I told Jeff, my friend who taught this game, that I was expecting a little bit more from, and I love the concept. I'm not sure if it was quite executed as well as I was hoping, but it's only after 1 play, so I'm going to give it some more tries. But basically the stress track, in the game you live a life, and then at the end of your life you die. Every game of Pursuit of Happiness ends with all players dying. And the main contributor to accelerating your death and potentially having you miss out on maybe 1 or 2 rounds of the game is your stress. So if you live a life that's really stressful, there are a few mechanisms in the game where you can take on more stress, and usually they result in an immediate benefit or an immediate element of flexibility. Like you're kind of pushing yourself. You're working, instead of just working a little bit, you're working a lot. Instead of having just 1 relationship, you're having multiple relationships, and that'll stress you out. And in the end of the game, every round the game starts giving you stress automatically to accelerate the end of the game. So at some point, everyone's going to get completely stressed out and old, and they're going to die, and that ends the game. But the concept of the game, when I originally heard Jeff talk about it, was that you had a lot of control over how well you could manage that stress, and if you managed it really well early in the game, your game would be longer than the games of those who didn't manage their stress as well, and vice versa. If you push forward early in the game, you're stressed out. You might have immediate benefits that may have long-term benefits too, but but you may die a little bit earlier. So it sounded like a brilliant push and pull. The reason that I was a little disappointed by it, and I don't mean to talk about disappointments in this video, because I really love this mechanism and I want to see it to work, and I want to return to the game to see if I can get it to work. But it didn't matter. Like in the game that we played, it just didn't matter. Some people stressed themselves out a little bit. I worked on like really decreasing my stress. I had a very low-key life despite my job as a union leader and my wife and all those things. Despite all those things, I lowered my stress, and my game did last one round longer than everybody else. So it did have a small impact, but it was pretty minimal. Like the difference was very minimal in terms of the push and pull. So that's something I'd like to explore more. I'd love to hear about other games that have this mechanism of short-term benefits that may have long-term repercussions, whether they're good or bad. And how they might extend the game for some players and shorten the game for other players by just a little bit. It's not enough to be even called player elimination. Anyway, those are some fascinating mechanisms in this game. If you've played it, I'd love to hear your thoughts about your favorite mechanism in the comments. You can talk about the mix of the theme and how theme can come out in a Euro game through the stories you tell about it, if you're able to even tell a story about it, or the tracks that I mentioned, the short-term, long-term thing, or the happiness track, the temporary happiness track, where you can get happier and reduce your cost for one round and then goes back down the next round. Lots of mechanisms here, more than one in this video, but the game deserves it. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thanks.